There used to be 7 moons in the sky. Not one. 7 taking turns to light the world, each one a sister to the others. 6 of them are gone now, eaten whole by a dragon that rose out of the ocean floor. And every time the sky goes dark in the middle of the day, or the moon turns blood red for no reason anyone can see, somewhere in the Philippines, someone still remembers why. They still grab a pot and a spoon and start banging on it, screaming at the sky to let go. That dragon is called Bakunawa. It is one of the most feared and most beloved figures in Philippine mythology, a creature so massive it can coil around the entire world, and it has been trying to finish what it started for longer than anyone can measure. The god who stopped it was Bathala, the supreme deity of the sky. This is the story of how he lost 6 moons, saved the 7th, and how the war between them never actually ended. It just went quiet. Before the Philippines had a name, Bathala looked at the darkness that covered the world every night and decided it was not acceptable. He made 7 moons, radiant sisters, each one taking her turn to rise and light the sky so that no night on earth was ever left completely dark. The people below loved them. Every evening had its own moon, its own particular light, its own beauty. The nights were never the same twice. For a long stretch of the ancient world, the sky was more generous than anyone alive today has ever seen it. Bakunawa noticed. Deep in the ocean, coiled in darkness its entire existence, the great serpent looked up one night and saw 7 lights it did not have and had never been offered. In some versions of this story, it started as simple wonder, an ocean creature amazed by something more beautiful than anything it had ever known. In others, it began as jealousy, sharp and total, aimed at 7 sisters who got to shine while Bakunawa stayed in the dark. Either way, the wonder did not stay gentle for long. Bakunawa rose from the ocean and opened its jaws around the first moon. Not a bite, a total swallow. 1 entire moon gone in a single motion, and the sky above the earth went darker than it had been in living memory. The people who witnessed it felt the ground shake. Some accounts describe an earthquake tearing through the islands the moment the first moon disappeared into the serpent's throat. Bathala was furious, but Bakunawa did not stop at 1. It came back, and it came back again. 1 moon at a time, spaced out across what some versions describe as centuries, the great serpent returned to the sky and took another sister, until 6 of the 7 moons were gone and only 1 was left. Each time Bathala tried to stop it. Each time Bakunawa slipped back into the ocean before he could catch it, vanishing into water so deep and so dark that even a god could not follow. The people on the surface watched their sky grow emptier with every passing generation, watched the nights get darker, and understood that something enormous and hungry was still down there, still watching, still waiting for the last light to go out completely. When Bakunawa came for the 7th moon, Bathala was ready. The serpent rose from the sea the same way it always had, jaws open, moving toward the final light in the sky with the same confidence that had worked 6 times before. But this time, Bathala intercepted it before the teeth closed. A ferocious confrontation followed, god against serpent, and Bathala drove Bakunawa back into the ocean before it could finish what it came to do. The 7th moon survived, but Bathala understood that survival once was not the same as safety forever. Bakunawa was still down there. It would come back. So Bathala planted tall bamboo across the surface of the last moon. A deterrent and a disguise at once, something that from a distance would make the moon look already damaged, already spoiled, not worth the effort of another attempt. Those bamboo stalks are why, to this day, people looking at the moon can make out shapes and shadows across its surface. Ancient Filipinos looked up and saw the trees Bathala planted to save the world's last light. It did not stop Bakunawa completely. The serpent still tries every so often to finish the job. When it does, the moon passes into shadow. That is what a lunar eclipse is in the oldest Filipino cosmology. Not an astronomical accident, but Bakunawa's jaws closing around the seventh moon one more time. And when it happened, ancient communities did not stay quiet and wait for it to pass. They went outside with every pot, pan, and drum they owned and made as much noise as humanly possible, screaming Bathala, meaning let go, until the serpent released the moon and sank back into the ocean in retreat. That practice did not disappear with the ancient world. In parts of the Philippines, it is still performed today every time the moon goes dark. Bakunawa was not the only war fought over the light in the Philippine sky. After Bathala's reign in the mythology of the Tagalog and Kapampangan peoples, his own children went to war over who would inherit control of the heavens. Apolaki, the god of the sun and of war, and his sister Mayari, goddess of the moon, both believed the sky belonged to them alone. Apolaki wanted sole rule. Mayari demanded an equal share. Neither one would yield, and the argument became a battle fought with bamboo clubs, swung with the full force of two gods who each believed they were owed the sky. Apolaki struck his sister across the face and blinded her in one eye. It should have been the end of the fight, the moment one sibling simply overpowered the other. Instead, blinded and bleeding, Mayari kept fighting. She matched her brother blow for blow until neither of them could claim victory, and Apolaki, ashamed of what he had done to his own sister, finally agreed to share what he had tried to take entirely for himself. That is why in Philippine cosmology the sun burns brighter than the moon. Apolaki kept both his eyes. Mayari rules the night with only one. Every full moon is the scar of a war between siblings who could not agree on how to divide the sky. And every difference in brightness between day and night is a permanent record of exactly how that war ended. When Spanish colonizers arrived in the Philippines, they brought a religion that had no room for a supreme sky god locked in an eternal war with a sea dragon, or for a moon goddess who ruled the night with one eye lost in battle against her own brother. Centuries of conversion pushed these stories to the margins, kept alive mostly in oral tradition, regional folklore, and the memory of communities far enough from colonial centers to hold on to what they had always believed. It did not disappear. Bakunawa is now one of the most recognizable figures in Filipino popular culture, referenced constantly in art, comics, games, and a genuine wave of renewed interest among young Filipinos, actively trying to reconnect with a mythology their own education system spent centuries trying to erase. Bathala, Apolaki, and Mayari are being rediscovered by exactly the generation that colonial history assumed would forget them completely. The bamboo is still on the moon if you know how to look. The tradition of banging pots during an eclipse is still practiced in parts of the islands. And somewhere beneath the ocean, in the oldest version of this story that Filipinos still tell each other, Bakunawa has never stopped waiting for its chance at the last moon in the sky. What makes this mythology different from almost everything else in this season is that its war was never fully won. Zeus locked the Titans away for good. Susanoo cut Yamata no Orochi into pieces and it never returned. But Bakunawa is still down there. Every eclipse is proof the war did not end. It just moved underwater, waiting for its next opening. There is something honest in a mythology that refuses to promise a permanent victory. Bathala did not destroy his enemy. He planted bamboo and hoped it would be enough, and it has been so far for longer than recorded history. But the ancient Filipinos who first told this story were not naive enough to think the threat was gone. They kept their pots by the door. They passed the warning down. And somewhere in the modern Philippines, when the moon turns red in the sky for reasons science now explains perfectly well, there are still people who feel that old instinct rise and reach for something to make noise with, just in case. Bathala never killed Bakunawa. He drove it back, planted bamboo to disguise the prize, and left the threat alive at the bottom of the ocean rather than ending it completely. Every eclipse since has been proof that the danger never actually went away, only that it keeps losing. Is a war you have to keep re-winning forever actually a victory? Or is Bathala's real triumph the fact that, after everything 5,000 years of retellings later, the seventh moon is still there? Next time on Gods and Empires, we travel to Hawaii. Two sisters go to war across an entire ocean. One of them is fire, the other is water. Every single island in the Pacific exists because one sister kept running from the other and left a volcano behind every time she stopped. The war between Pele and Namaka has never had a winner because neither sister has ever been willing to lose, and it is still burning right now on an island where the ground never stops moving. That story is waiting.